The night sky burned. Red streaks cut through the darkness, each one followed by a low, shaking rumble that made the ground tremble under Ethan's boots. He had seen many storms on this cold planet, but tonight wasn't a storm. It was war. He crouched behind a metal crate, gripping his old rifle. The air smelled of smoke and wet soil. In the distance, glowing blue fires marked the crash site of another ship. Not human, but alien. Ethan didn't want trouble. He was only a scavenger, living alone on the edge of a forgotten mining colony. But trouble had come to him. He looked toward the valley. Strange lights moved through the mist, fast, bright, and silent. They weren't soldiers. They were hunters. And they were chasing someone, a scream echoed. It wasn't human. It was softer, higher, filled with pain. Ethan's heart stopped for a second. He almost turned away, almost told himself it wasn't his problem. But that scream, it sounded like someone begging. Someone small, someone terrified. He ran. The ground was muddy and the fog made everything a blur. He followed the sound until he saw a flicker of blue light through the mist. When he got closer, he froze. There, under a broken tree, lay a young alien girl. Her skin glowed faintly, a soft blue shimmer that looked almost like moonlight. She was breathing hard, her silver eyes wide with fear. Her clothes were torn, her hands shaking. Ethan slowly lowered his weapon. "Hey, it's okay. I won't hurt you," he said softly. She tried to crawl back, but her leg was twisted badly. Maybe broken. The mark of a stun weapon burned across her arm. Behind her, heavy steps echoed. The hunters were close. He could hear them talking in deep metallic voices, scanning for her energy trail. Ethan made a choice. A stupid one. The kind that changes everything. He took off his coat, wrapped it around the girl, and lifted her in his arms. She gasped, too weak to fight him. "Quiet," he whispered. "We have to move." He ran through the fog, trying not to slip, the cold biting through his skin. Behind him, the hunters roared. Bright red beams cut through the mist, burning the trees. One shot grazed his shoulder. The pain was sharp, but he didn't stop. He ducked behind the ruins of an old cabin, breathing fast. The girl trembled against him, whispering in her alien language words he didn't understand. "I'm not your enemy," he said, pressing his hand over her wound. She flinched but didn't pull away. Her blood was strange, done a silver blue and faintly glowing. He tore a piece of cloth and tied it around her arm. "You're gonna be fine, all right? You just have to stay quiet." She looked up at him, her eyes full of confusion and pain. Then in broken English she whispered, "Why, you help me?" Ethan didn't have an answer. Maybe it was because she looked so lost. Maybe because he had once needed help too and no one came. He just said, "Because someone has to." The hunters' voices grew louder. Ethan grabbed his rifle and peered through the cracks in the wall. Shadows moved closer. He checked his last power cell. 1 shot left. That wouldn't be enough. He turned to the girl. "Can you walk?" She shook her head weakly. Her breath came in short, pained gasps. "They kill me," she whispered. "Please, kill me first." The words hit him like a punch. She looked serious, desperate. Her eyes shone with tears. "They take me. They break me, please." Ethan clenched his jaw. "No one's dying tonight, not you. Not me." He picked her up again and slipped out through the back door. The night was filled with noise, the hunters tearing apart the forest, shouting commands in a tongue he didn't know. Ethan headed toward the cliffs where the fog was thickest. Each step felt heavier than the last. The girl's body was light, but his heart felt like stone. When they finally reached the cave near the cliff's edge, he laid her down carefully on a blanket. She shivered, hugging herself. Ethan lit a small lamp, its warm glow dancing on the stone walls. "You'll be safe here," he said. She stared at him silently, her silver eyes reflecting the flame. For the first time that night, the world was quiet again. The only sound was her breathing, slow and fragile. Ethan sat by the entrance, rifle ready, watching the mist drift outside. He didn't know who she was or what kind of war she had escaped from. He didn't know that saving her would change everything, that by dawn the ground would shake again. And this time the hunter coming for him wouldn't be ordinary. The night slowly faded into a gray morning. The fog outside the cave thickened, swallowing the world in silence. Ethan sat near the entrance, his rifle across his lap, eyes heavy but alert. The alien girl was still asleep, breathing softly, wrapped in his old blanket. He didn't sleep. Every sound made his heart jump. Every crack of stone or whisper of wind felt like a warning. The hunters might still be out there. He looked at the girl again. She looked peaceful now, almost like a child. Her blue skin glowed faintly in the dim light. He wondered what kind of world she came from, what kind of life she had before this. When she finally opened her eyes, the first thing she did was flinch. Her hands moved to her side, ready to defend herself. Ethan raised his palm slowly. "Easy," he said softly. "You're safe. I didn't touch anything." She blinked, confused, then looked around the cave. "Where, this?" "An old mining cave," Ethan replied. "Far from the scanners. They won't find you here." The girl tried to sit up, but winced in pain. Ethan helped her lean against the wall. Her eyes studied him, full of fear and something else. Curiosity. "You human?" "Yeah," Ethan said. "And you're—" "Lyra," she whispered. "From Althera." Ethan nodded slowly. "All right, Lyra, you need food and rest. I'll bring something from the camp." When he turned to leave, her hand caught his wrist. It was cold and light as glass. "They come," she said, her voice trembling. "You save me. But they not stop. My people come too." Ethan frowned. "Your people?" She nodded. "They think human take me. They send warrior. Strong. Very strong." He sighed and rubbed his temple. "Great, so now both sides want me dead." Lyra lowered her gaze. "If he find you, he kill you." Ethan didn't answer. He stepped out of the cave and into the misty forest. The air was damp and heavy. Each step made soft sounds in the mud. The world felt tense, like it was holding its breath. He reached his cabin just as the fog began to thin. It was quiet. Too quiet. The fires from last night's battle had burned out. He collected a few cans of food, water filters, and a small med kit. When he turned to leave, something made him stop. A shadow moved near the tree line. He froze. The shape was tall, much taller than a man, and it moved with silent, smooth grace. The mist hid most of it, but he could see faint silver armor shining in the light. Not human. Ethan's pulse quickened. He crouched behind a crate and raised his rifle. The figure stopped, scanning the ground. A strange humming sound filled the air. Then a deep, calm voice spoke in a language Ethan didn't know. The sound made his chest vibrate. The figure turned its head, a helmet shaped like a beast, eyes glowing faint red. The same kind of glow he had seen in the hunter's weapons. The figure took a step closer to the cabin, then crouched down. Its claws touched the ground, examining footprints. Ethan's footprints. "Damn," Ethan whispered. He slowly backed away, careful not to make noise. But a branch snapped under his boot. The figure's head shot up instantly. The glowing eyes locked on him. For a long second, neither moved. Then the warrior stood straight, towering like a mountain, and began walking toward him. Ethan ran. Branches tore at his jacket as he sprinted through the forest, heart pounding. He could hear the metallic steps behind him, fast, steady, relentless. He fired his rifle once, the beam cutting through the fog, but it only hit a tree. The warrior didn't stop. By the time Ethan reached the cave, he was gasping for air. Lyra's eyes widened when she saw him. "He come?" "He's close," Ethan said. "We have to move." But before they could even stand, a deep voice echoed through the mist outside the cave. "Human, give her to me." The sound rolled like thunder. Lyra's face turned pale. "It's him," she whispered. "Therian, my protector." Ethan gripped his rifle tightly. "Protector? He's here to kill me." Lyra shook her head slowly.
"He think you take me, he think—"
"You hurt me." Outside, heavy steps approached. The ground trembled with each one. A shadow filled the cave entrance, a massive, armored, and radiating power. Two burning red eyes glowed through the fog. Ethan raised his rifle. "Stay back," he warned. His voice shook, but he stood his ground. Therian stepped forward, the armor plates shifting with a low mechanical sound. "You dare point a weapon at me, human?" His voice was deep, calm, and cold as ice. Lyra struggled to stand. "Therian, stop," she cried. "He saved me." Therian turned his head slightly toward her. "You speak lies. Humans killed our scouts. Humans took you." Ethan's jaw clenched. "I don't know what happened to your people, but I pulled her out of a battlefield while she was dying." "You're welcome." The warrior's eyes narrowed. "Then you will die with honor." Before Ethan could move, Therian raised his weapon, a long spear that hummed with energy, and the cave walls lit up with blue light. Lyra screamed his name. Ethan dove to the ground as the spear hit the wall, sending shards of rock flying. He rolled behind a boulder, grabbed his rifle, and fired. The beam struck Therian's chest, but the armor barely glowed. Not even a scratch. Therian took a slow step forward. You fight for her? Foolish human, Ethan gritted his teeth. Maybe, but someone has to. The cave filled with smoke and light as they clashed. One human, one alien warrior. And in the middle of it, Lyra crawled to the corner, tears running down her glowing face. She knew what Therian didn't yet realize. This human had risked his life to save her. And now she was watching him die for it. Outside, thunder rolled again, but this time it wasn't from the sky. Something far worse was waking in the valley. Dust filled the cave. The smell of smoke and hot metal burned the air. Ethan rolled behind a rock, clutching his rifle, coughing hard. The blue glow from Therian's weapon flickered through the mist like lightning. Human, the deep voice echoed again. Do not hide. Ethan wiped blood from his lip. Not hiding, he muttered. Just thinking. He peeked from behind the boulder. The alien warrior stood tall, the spear humming with deadly energy. His armor was covered in ancient symbols that pulsed like veins of fire. Every movement looked calm and sure, like he had fought 1,000 battles before. Ethan fired again, hitting the wall beside him. The beam scattered, but Therian didn't even flinch. He moved forward slowly, each step shaking the ground. Lyra tried to crawl between them, shouting, Stop! He saved me. He is not enemy. Therian turned his head, eyes glowing red beneath the mist. You are confused, young one. The humans bring death. They brought the hunters. They destroyed your ship. Ethan frowned, heart racing. What are you talking about? I didn't destroy anything. Therian ignored him. He raised the spear again, but Lyra screamed and threw herself in front of Ethan. The spear stopped just inches from her chest. For a moment, the cave went silent, only their breathing echoed. Move, Therian growled. No, Lyra said. Her voice shook, but she stood firm. He risked life for me. He fight hunters. He not like them. Ethan slowly stood still behind her. You heard her. Put the stick down. Therian stared at Ethan for a long, tense moment. Then, with a low hum, he lowered the spear. The light faded. If her words are true, he said slowly, then you have done a thing of honor. For an enemy. Ethan lowered his rifle a little. Didn't do it for your war. I did it because she needed help. Therian studied him. The warrior's voice softened slightly. You could have left her. You did not. Why? Ethan shrugged. Because she begged for help. And I'm not a monster. For the first time, the red glow in Therian's eyes dimmed. He looked at Lyra, fragile, shaking, but alive. Then back at Ethan. Your people. Killed ours, Therian said. But maybe not all humans are the same. Ethan exhaled slowly. Glad we agree on something. Lyra's legs gave out and she sank to the ground. Ethan rushed to catch her. Her skin was cold, too cold. The glow under her skin flickered weakly. She's losing strength, Ethan said. What's happening to her? Therian knelt beside them. Her life force fades. Our kind needs sunlight from Althera to survive. This world is poison to her. Ethan shook his head. There has to be a way. Therian hesitated. There is one way. Our dropship crashed beyond the ridge. Its core can heal her for a short time. But I cannot move her alone. Ethan looked at him. Then we moved together. The alien warrior's eyes narrowed. You would help me? Ethan gave a small smile. You said I had honor. Let's prove it. Therian's grip tightened around his spear. Then he nodded once. Very well, human. We fight side by side. For her. Ethan lifted Lyra gently, wrapping her again in the blanket. Therian stepped out of the cave first, scanning the horizon. The valley below was still covered in fog, but dark shapes moved in the distance, not just hunters, but machines. Their red sensors blinked like eyes. They track her, Therian said. They will not stop until she is gone. Then we'd better move fast, Ethan replied. They started down the slope, moving through the fog. Every step was slow and careful. The silence between them was heavy. Two enemies forced to trust each other. Ethan could feel Therian's eyes watching him, studying him, judging every move. As they reached the lower valley, a faint hum filled the air. Drones and small, metallic and armed. Ethan ducked behind a fallen tree. They're close. Therian raised his hand, whispering something in his language. His armor shimmered, bending the light around them. We are hidden for a moment, he said. Move. They crept through the mist until the dark shape of the alien ship appeared. It was half buried in the mud, smoke still rising from its torn hull. The sight made Therian stop. His hand tightened around his spear. "Our fallen brothers," he whispered. The ground around the ship was scattered with pieces of armor and strange tools. Ethan looked away, feeling a quiet respect. Inside the wreck they found the glowing core, a sphere of bright blue light humming softly. Lyra's eyes flickered open at the sight. "Home? Light," she whispered. Ethan laid her down near the core. The light touched her skin and slowly her color returned. Her breathing steadied. Ethan felt relief wash over him. "It's working." Therian watched in silence. For the first time, his voice carried something almost human. Gratitude. "You saved her again, human." Ethan smiled faintly. "Guess I'm getting good at it." But before they could say more, the ground shook. A loud metallic roar echoed across the valley. The hunters had found them. Red lights appeared in the fog, dozens of them. Therian stood tall, spear glowing again. "They come for her. For all of us." Ethan reloaded his rifle, standing beside the warrior. "Then let's show them what happens when humans and aliens fight together." Lyra looked up at them, weak but smiling. "Together?" she whispered. The mist exploded with light as the first hunters emerged. Blue and red beams crossed the air. The battle for survival had begun. And in that moment, the line between human and alien faded. They were just two souls fighting to protect one fragile life. And maybe a small chance for peace. The valley shook like thunder when the hunters came. Their red eyes glowed through the fog, dozens of them, tall metal shadows moving fast, carrying weapons that hummed with deadly power. The ground cracked under their heavy steps. The air turned electric with danger. Ethan and Therian stood side by side near the broken alien ship. The blue light from the ship's core shone behind them like a small sun. Lyra lay nearby, breathing weakly, her skin glowing softly as the energy kept her alive. Ethan tightened his grip on his rifle. "How many?" Therian's deep voice rumbled, calm but sharp. "Too many." The first wave of hunters appeared. Machines shaped like armored beasts, part metal, part flesh. Their arms turned into cannons, firing red energy bolts that tore through the ground. Ethan dove behind a rock, returning fire. His shots hit one in the chest, bursting sparks, but it didn't fall. "Head," Therian shouted. "Aim for head." Ethan focused, aimed carefully, and fired again. The beam struck the hunter's head, and the machine collapsed with a shriek of metal. "Got it." Therian's spear glowed bright blue as he charged forward. He moved like lightning. Every swing cracked the air, every strike sent sparks flying. His armor gleamed in the fog, each blow echoing like thunder. Ethan covered him from behind, firing at anything that moved. The battle was chaos, light, smoke, and screams. But for the first time, Ethan felt something strange. Trust. He fought not alone, but beside someone who had once wanted him dead. "On your left," Ethan shouted. Therian spun, blocking a blast with his spear and crushing a hunter's head in one motion. "You fight well, human," he growled. Ethan laughed breathlessly. Not bad for a guy with no armor, but there were too many. For every machine they broke, two more came. The fog filled with red beams. One shot hit near the ship, throwing Ethan off his feet. He rolled, coughing, dirt in his mouth. His rifle slipped away. "Ethan!" Lyra screamed weakly from behind the ship. He looked up. A hunter stood above him, claws raised. Ethan reached for anything, a rock, a weapon, anything. But before he could move, a blue flash cut through the air. Therian's spear sliced the hunter clean in half. Therian stood over Ethan, his armor dented, glowing cracks spreading across it. "You still alive?" he asked, half serious. Ethan grinned. "Barely. You?" "I will live until the fight is done." They turned back toward the fog. The ground was littered with broken hunters, smoke rising in every direction, but the red lights were still moving, hundreds more in the distance. Ethan's heart sank. "There's too many. We can't hold them." Therian looked toward the ship. "The core," he said. "If we release its energy, it will burn the valley. They will die." Ethan froze. "Burn the valley? That'll kill us too." Therian's expression didn't change. "Better to die with honor than be hunted like beasts." Lyra's faint voice broke through the noise. "No, please. Stop fighting." They turned to her. She was trying to sit up, weak but determined. Her silver eyes glowed with tears. "Hunters not from my tribe," she said softly. "They come from both. Human and Althera make them." Ethan stared. "What?" "They were made long ago," Lyra whispered. "A project, to keep peace." But they turned against us. They kill all who fight. They kill both sides. Tharion's eyes widened. The truth hit him like a blade. You mean, these machines? Yes, she said. They hunt war. They hunt life. Ethan shook his head slowly. So they're not hunting you or me. They're hunting anyone who fights. Outside, the machines kept coming. The sound of their metal steps grew louder, closer. Tharion looked at Ethan. Then we stopped fighting, he said quietly. We stand as one, Ethan nodded. Together. He stood beside Tharion, rifle lowered. Tharion dropped his spear into the ground. The two faced the advancing army in silence. The hunters slowed. Their sensors blinked uncertainly, scanning them. The air grew tense, humming with confusion. Lyra raised her hand weakly from where she lay. A soft blue light spread from her skin, the same energy as the ship's core. The light grew brighter, wrapping around her and the two men. The mist began to glow with it, warm and calm. The hunters stopped moving. Their red eyes flickered. One by one they powered down, their weapons fading, their metal bodies going still. The valley fell silent again. Ethan blinked, unable to believe it. What did she do? Tharion watched in awe. She reminded them what they were made for, peace. Lyra smiled faintly. They remember. Now, the blue light dimmed and she fell back unconscious. Ethan rushed to her, holding her hand. Hey, stay with me, he whispered. Tharion looked at the quiet machines, his voice heavy. She saved us all. Ethan nodded. Yeah, but we need to save her now. The warrior knelt beside them. There is one place, he said. Our beacon tower and far beyond the ridge. It can call a ship from orbit. If we reach it, she may live. Ethan looked toward the mountains, the fog swirling like ghosts. Then we go, he said. Tharion stood tall, his armor cracked but shining faintly in the light. We go together. The two carried Lyra through the silent battlefield, past the broken hunters and burned ground. The sun broke through the clouds for the first time, casting gold light over the valley. They didn't know what waited beyond the ridge. But they knew this, they were no longer enemies. They were something stronger. The valley behind them was quiet now. Only the smoke rising from broken hunters marked the war that had ended. The fog thinned as the first sunlight spread across the land. Ethan walked slowly, carrying Lyra in his arms, her faint blue glow still pulsing under her skin. Tharion led the way, his spear dim but ready. His armor was cracked and scorched, his movement slower now, but his voice stayed calm. The beacon tower is far, he said. We must cross the dead plains. The air there burns lungs. Stay close, Ethan nodded, his voice low. We'll make it. They moved through the ruined forest, stepping over broken metal and fallen trees. Every sound felt strange now, the silence after war. Ethan looked at Tharion, the alien warrior who had once tried to kill him. Never thought I'd end up walking next to a 7-foot tank with glowing eyes, he said, trying to smile. Tharion looked at him. Never thought I'd trust a fragile human. Ethan chuckled quietly. Guess the universe likes surprises. Lyra stirred in his arms, whispering something in her soft alien tongue. Her voice was weak, fading. Ethan bent closer. What is it? She opened her eyes slightly. Don't. Let me sleep too long, she said. Dreams here. Dark. Ethan's heart tightened. You'll be okay. Just hang in there. They walked for hours. The forest slowly gave way to open plains. Cracked earth, ash, and rust-colored wind. Nothing grew here. The ground was littered with old bones and twisted metal. This place, Ethan said quietly, looks like the world ended. It did, Tharion answered. Long before your people came. My ancestors fought here when the hunters first rebelled. Many died, none returned. Ethan adjusted Lyra's weight in his arms. Then let's make sure we don't end up like them. As they crossed the plains, strange shapes moved in the distance. Tall, black towers rising from the ground like teeth. They hummed faintly, sending waves of static through the air. Ethan's earpiece crackled. What's that? Tharion stopped, frowning. Old war machines, sleeping, do not wake them. Ethan's boots crunched on the dry soil. Each step echoed in the stillness. His throat burned from the hot wind. Tharion's armor made faint clicking sounds as the systems inside struggled to hold together. After some time, they reached a cliff. Beyond it, in the far distance, stood a tall silver spire, shining faintly under the sun. The beacon tower. There, Tharion said. That is the signal to the stars. Ethan looked at the vast empty space between them and the tower. "Looks close," he said. "It's not," Therian replied. "And we are not alone." Before Ethan could ask, a low growl rolled across the air. From the ruins below, dark figures crawled out. Not hunters, but twisted remains of them. Machines half broken, moving on claws and wires, their red eyes flickering like dying fire. Ethan cursed under his breath. "They look worse than before." "Not worse," Therian said. "Desperate." The machines screeched and began to climb. Ethan placed Lyra gently against a rock. "Stay here," he whispered. "We'll handle this." Therian's armor lit up again, the spear glowing with pale blue light. "They smell her energy," he said. "They want the core inside her." Ethan's eyes widened. "The core?" Therian nodded grimly. "She carries a fragment of our world's heart. It keeps her alive. And it calls to them." Ethan looked at Lyra, lying weakly under the rock, unaware. "So they're after her?" "Yes," Therian said. "Always her." The first wave of broken hunters charged. Ethan opened fire, hitting one in the chest, then another in the head. Sparks flew, metal crashed. Therian moved beside him, slashing through the air with his spear, cutting machines apart with glowing strikes. But there were too many. They kept coming, crawling, shrieking, their broken limbs dragging across the rocks. One leapt toward Lyra, claws raised. Ethan spun, shouting her name, but Therian was faster. His spear pierced the creature mid-air, throwing it back in a burst of blue fire. The fight went on until their weapons hissed and smoked. When the last machine fell, the air was silent again. Ethan dropped to his knees, panting. "Please tell me that's the last of them." Therian looked at the horizon. For now, they turned back to Lyra, but her glow was fading again. She was barely breathing. Ethan knelt beside her, shaking her shoulder gently. "Hey, stay with me. We're almost there." She opened her eyes just a little. "The beacon," she whispered. "If I reach it." "The light will go home, my people." "Will come." Ethan's heart raced. "Then we're not just saving you. We're calling your whole tribe." Therian nodded. "If her people come, they will save her. But they may not forgive us," Ethan looked at him. "Then we'll face that when it comes." He lifted Lyra again. She felt lighter than ever, like she was fading away. Her silver hair brushed against his shoulder. "You're gonna make it," he said softly. "I promise." As they climbed toward the beacon ridge, the wind turned colder. The sky dimmed, the sunlight swallowed by dark clouds. Lightning flashed in the distance. At the top of the ridge, they finally saw the tower up close. Massive, ancient, and covered in strange alien markings that pulsed faintly. Therian placed his hand on the surface. "It still lives," he said. "We must reach the heart chamber inside. That will send the call." Ethan nodded. "Let's finish this." But before they could move, a deep voice echoed from behind them, low, metallic, and filled with fury. "You should not have come here," it said. Ethan spun around, rifle ready. A tall shadow stepped out of the storm, bigger than any hunter they had faced. Its armor was black as night, its eyes burning bright red. Therian's face hardened. "That is not one of mine," he said. "That is a war sentinel." Ethan's pulse jumped. "And I'm guessing he's not here to help." The sentinel raised a massive weapon, humming with red energy. "The war ends now," it said. Ethan looked at Therian, then at Lyra. "Then we make our stand here." Therian's armor flared to life, glowing bright blue again. "Then let us show him what two enemies can become." And as the first bolt of red light tore through the air, the final battle for Lyra's life began. The storm broke over the ridge like a living thing. Wind howled across the rocks, carrying dust and lightning. The sky turned red with fire as the war sentinel stepped forward, towering, armored in black metal, eyes glowing like burning coals. Ethan stood between it and Lyra, his rifle shaking in his hands. Therian moved beside him, spear humming with bright blue light. Together, they faced the monster that had hunted both their worlds. The sentinel's voice was cold, heavy, and filled with hate. Human and Altherian, united in defiance. "Your alliance breaks the law of balance. You will be erased." Ethan clenched his jaw. "We've had enough of being erased." The sentinel raised its cannon arm. The air pulsed with red light, and the ground exploded. Ethan flew backward, crashing into the rocks. His chest burned. His rifle slid from his hands. Therian roared, charging forward with the spear. Blue lightning met red fire, and the two collided with a thunderclap that split the sky. Ethan pushed himself up, pain flooding his body. The air smelled of burning metal. He could see Therion locked in combat with the Sentinel, blue and red lights flashing with every hit. Sparks flew as metal clashed. The sound was deafening. Lyra lay nearby, barely conscious, her faint blue glow fading fast. The ship core inside her pulsed weakly like a dying star. Ethan crawled to her side. "Lyra," he said softly, "you have to hang on. We're almost there." She opened her eyes halfway. "The tower. You must activate it," she whispered. "It will call the light. It will save us all." Ethan looked at the beacon, its door half buried in rubble, the markings glowing faintly. He glanced back at the fight. Therion was losing ground. "The Sentinel was too strong. I'll do it," Ethan said. "But you stay alive, you hear me?" He ran toward the tower, climbing over rocks and metal. Lightning flashed overhead. Inside, the chamber glowed blue, ancient symbols dancing on the walls. At the center stood a pedestal with a crystal console. Ethan pressed his trembling hands against it. The light flared, reacting to his touch. "Come on," he muttered. "Work!" Behind him, the Sentinel knocked Therion down, slamming him into the ground. The alien warrior coughed, his armor shattered. The red light from the Sentinel's cannon grew brighter, ready to fire again. Ethan turned and shouted, "Therion! Hold him!" Therion gritted his teeth and rose, grabbing the Sentinel's arm with both hands. "Do it, human!" he roared. Ethan slammed his palm onto the console. The beacon exploded with light. A beam of pure energy shot up into the sky, piercing the clouds. The ground trembled, the wind howled, and the air turned bright white. The Sentinel screamed, trying to pull away, but Therion held on. The blue light spread through its armor, breaking it apart from within. Cracks of light burst across its body, and with one final roar, the machine exploded in a storm of blue fire. Ethan fell to his knees, shielding his face. When the light faded, the world was quiet again. Smoke drifted through the air. The Sentinel was gone, nothing left but ashes. Ethan stumbled toward Therion. The warrior lay still, his armor cracked open, glowing faintly from inside. "Therion!" Ethan shouted, kneeling beside him. Therion's voice was faint but calm. "You did it. The beacon calls the stars now." Ethan shook his head. "Don't talk like that. You're not done yet." Therion's hand gripped his shoulder weakly. "Protect her, and tell your people. Not all wars are worth fighting." Ethan swallowed hard. "You're not my enemy, Therion." Therion gave a small, fading smile. "Not anymore." His hand fell and his armor went dark. Ethan sat in silence for a moment, the wind whispering through the ruins. Then he looked toward Lyra. She was standing, barely, her blue glow brighter now. The beacon light wrapped around her like wings of energy. She looked at Ethan with tears in her silver eyes. "You saved us," she said softly. Ethan shook his head. "We saved each other." The sky opened above them. A massive ship appeared through the clouds, silver and shining, moving slowly down through the light. Lyra looked up, her eyes full of wonder. "My people." Ethan smiled, but there was sadness behind it. "Guess your ride's here." She stepped closer, her glowing hand touching his cheek gently. "You are brave, Ethan. You showed mercy. When others chose hate, he took her hand. And you showed me there's more to the universe than war." The ship's light surrounded her. She began to fade, her form turning to shimmering particles. "Will I see you again?" he asked quietly. Lyra smiled. "In another sky? Maybe." Then she was gone, lifted by the beam, disappearing into the light. Ethan stood alone on the ridge, watching the ship rise higher and higher until it vanished among the stars. The storm passed. The sun broke through the clouds again, casting warm golden light across the valley. He looked down at Therion's broken armor, then at the beacon still shining faintly. "You were right," he whispered. "Peace was worth fighting for." He picked up Therion's spear and turned toward the horizon. The war was over for now, but somewhere far beyond that sky, a new world waited. And for the first time in a long time, Ethan walked toward it. Not as a soldier, not as a savior, but as a man who believed in hope again.